Hey everyone, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. Today's video is going to be on my Bx2370 Kubota here. I was just out mowing earlier and went to lift the deck and nothing happened. Was working good when I started. So I finished up and investigated the problem here. You have the lift rod that goes from your 3-point hitch up here to where your belly mount is, and you can see this tore out. It hooks right over that. It's extremely weak design for a 60-inch deck. That is a tremendous amount of weight on that little piece. So, in this video, we're going to fix this. This entire piece, as well as this bracket here, is sold as one piece, whereas the newer tractors, this bar is separate, and it is a lot heavier duty. So, the measurements are the same, and we're going to see if we can make that work here on this tractor. So to get this apart, we'll need to take out these two bolts here to let this bracket slide out from behind. And then on the new style, it uses a pin and not this oval thing that looks like it wears pretty bad. So we'll end up needing to cut this tab off and use a pin. And again, like I said, if you bought all this as a replacement, you get the bracket and this bar as one. So even if this didn't work, this is all garbage anyways, because to get this piece, you got to buy it all new, because you can't get this over that when it's not broke. So we'll tear this apart. I'll grind this off, drill a hole in there, and pin the new one on. And I believe it should be a huge upgrade and work perfectly, which I'm sure they realized it was a problem, and that's why the 2380s come standard now with this other rod. I'll take this bar off, which is just this pin here, and it just runs down there to that bracket. So I'll pop this loose and show you the new one and this one side by side. Alright, so here they are side by side. You can see how much beefier that new one is. The rod is all around much heavier, and you have two mounting points down here now instead of just the one piece of thin metal. So you put a pin through both, and this is far, far thicker than what this little thing was. So I think that will be a huge upgrade. And you can see here, I'll slide them up. They match up perfectly. So I think this will work great. So first off, we will transfer the adjustment over to the new one. You can buy that new, but it's all fine. So I'll just transfer that over. And then I'll pull that bracket off underneath the tractor, and I'll show you what we'll have to do with it. So it's 11/16 for the nut here, and you just want to break that free and then thread the whole bolt out. And if you don't mess with the adjustment, it should be good on the new one. So I'm just going to thread this out. End of the bolt has a little peened over, so it's like a locking. Wow. There it comes. Alright, we upgraded to an impact gun. The wrench was just too much trouble. Alright, there you can kind of see they really mushroomed that end over. They didn't want that coming out. Hopefully we can get that started here in the new one. Bolts here need to come out, and they are 17 millimeter. I'm going to try to do this without removing the tire. Most people do, but I don't think it's necessary. Alright, that looks good. One more up top. Nice pressure on that from the deck. Guess we probably could pop the deck loose on this side. That way that can hang in. And this probably needs to go. There it comes. So we ended up getting the deck out of the way, so we have more room to work. And then this bracket's a tight fit, but it slides out of this ear, down out of here. And then once you get it down, you can release this pin through here. And then this top one here is the one that we need to cut off because we're going to use that new pin style. So I'll get the angle grinder out and we'll do that next. But you can see how wore that pin is. I mean, it's half of it's worn out. So cut that off, and then we'll just open that hole back up. There's a hole already drilled there. You can kind of see down the crack there. But we'll cut this ear off and then re-drill that hole out. So here you can see this one at the other end that's not wore. Look how round that is. Looks good shape. That's down by the deck. Now look at this other one up there at the top. There's absolutely nothing left to it. Horrible design. So I'll grind that off. Alright, we got that off, and now I'll drill that pin back out. May have to cut this side off too. Actually, maybe I'll just do that. But it's a 1/2 inch pin. Alright guys, so I ground both sides flush, and then you can kind of see there where the pin was. I'm going to just drill that back out. I got that hole drilled through there where that pin was kind of welded in. So that's ready to go. I just sprayed it up a little bit with paint, but I'm sure that's going to rub because that's going to be a pivot point now, so I didn't get too carried away there. And as far as that bolt, definitely grab a new one while you're out getting this part because it's a one-time use and things all goobered up. So they must peen it over once it's up in there, and it's not salvageable. The nut gets all messed up getting it off. So I went and grabbed the new bolt, so we're ready to get that back in here. These are metric 12 millimeter and ultra fine, so it's 1.25 pitch. Probably could be pretty hard to find depending on your location and availability, but they had everything I needed here on a Saturday, which is great. I mean, you can get these parts straight from Essex, but they're obviously closed, so I had to make do at the local hardware store. So I'll get this all lined back up, and then we'll start getting this back onto the tractor. I did test fit this new end on the bracket, and it works perfectly, so we should be good to go. I'll get this set back up like the original was, and we'll be back under the tractor. So here are all the parts. I put a little bit of grease on the new pin, so you'll need this new pin because that replaces the pin that we cut off up there. So that's an actual pin on the new style. So there's the two washers and pin for that. I got the new adjustment bolt and nut in there, and that's all tight. And then you can reuse the rear pin from the original one. So that'll just transfer to there. So the only thing you need to get is this pin set up because you're drilling that one out, and get new bolts because that adjustment is peened over on the end and definitely will strip out on the way out through. So grab that, and then this part is ready to go back in. The first thing you want to do is get this oblong piece back through because that only goes through a certain way, and once you get up in here that gets harder and harder to do. And then this piece you gotta finagle and get it slid up in behind all this. There. And that'll go up like that. And then that's all normal. And then here's your bolt holes. You'll line them up and get your new bolt started. I got new ones for here too because same thing, them threads are just goobered all up. The nuts that are welded to the plate were good. It's just the bolts, I didn't like the way they looked, so I'm in here now. Bolts were cheap enough. I just got two new ones and lock washers. But you get those lined up and hand started. And then we will put the new bar on. Alright, then you can take your new bar and slip it in behind the wheel here and down in there to your new bracket. I have a rubber mallet here, and you probably want to tap back here on this bolt to help it slide in over. It's a tight fit, and that'll help slide it on there easier. I think we're close there. Looks like we need to go in a little more. Alright, I think we're kind of close there. Then you can grab your pin with a washer on it. slide it in. And then coming back here to the back, this will get pinned back onto your 3-point arms. So you'll bring your pin in around from the back. And slide that through your bar. Slide on the other washer. And put the cotter pin back through. And that part's done back there. And then moving up here to the front, I'll still need to put the other washer and cotter pin on the back, which I probably won't film that because that's going to be, you can't even see it anyways. It's way in behind. Here's a look at that pin and linkage from underneath. You can see I got that cotter pin in up here. That is definitely a chore, but got it in there nice and tight. That pin rotates real nice and easy with being greased. So I think this setup is going to last a whole lot longer than the original. It is so much beefier. So we just need to snug these 2 bolts up yet. And you don't want to go too hog wild with them because, yeah, I don't know, this metal seems soft for whatever reason. So they weren't that tight coming off, and you definitely don't want to bear down on them going in either because those nuts are just welded to the back of that bracket. And I'll snug these up. Taking the tire off probably would have helped and gave you a lot more room, but then you'd be sitting on jack stands or whatever, and I mean, you can get in here easy enough. It just makes it tight, and especially tight to video any of this, but you can see here you got plenty of room kind of to get in. It's just a little extra tight. That bracket wants to kick up when you snug these. Alright, that's tight enough. Next up, I'll put the deck on and see how this works. Alright guys, so this project is done. Everything works great. So this modification is possible. See there, the bolts are all tight, deck's back on. I cycled the deck, everything's perfect. And this bolt does get boogered up because it's going to be hard to see probably, but anyways, it's the stop for, well, there you might be able to see. Let me get the sun out of the picture. But anyways, you can see there, it's the stop for the back of the arm there. So when that hits that, that's going to, over time, booger up the end of that bolt. So you're going to always need that bolt if you replace this arm, because it's going to be trashed. But other than that, you can see there that new linkage the whole way up through. So much beefier again than that old one. I mean, that was your old end there. Single wall, thin metal versus that new style, which pinches in there and is so much beefier. So I think that's going to last a whole lot longer. The arms are the same. Everything works. And that arm, like I said, is for a Bx2380 instead of the 2370. This entire arm system for the Bx2370, like I said, you got to get it all as one piece, including that lower bracket. It's around $130. That new bracket for the Bx2380 is $30. So $30 for the bracket, a couple dollars in bolts and that new pin, and you have a fraction of the cost in a far superior part. So it is a viable upgrade. Like I said, this here, if I would have got the, I mean, I easily could have got it. They had it in stock, the original Bx2370 arm. But, I mean, it's just going to do the same thing. There's no upgrades to that arm. And the style that it is, there can't really be because of that egg-shaped oval thing there. I mean, it's only can be so much thickness of metal, and It's just the way it is. So a new pin style is going to be the ticket, I'm sure. So anyways, I'll have the part numbers to both the original and the upgraded one in the description of this video. And like I said, you can check Messick's or any of the Kubota parts diagrams and look at the parts for yourself. But when I seen that as an option, I'm like, there's no reason to replace it with something that's going to fail and cost 4 times the money up front for an inferior product. So the new arm does fit and works well, and we'll see how it holds up. This was the first time this first one failed, but when I went on the forums, it seemed to be a very, very common problem, and I'm like, there ain't no way I'm spending $130 to have it do it again. So 30 bucks later, and a couple bucks for bolts and that pin, and we should have a setup now that can't break. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below. If you're new here to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to keep these videos coming. You can also follow me on Facebook. The link is in the description below.